folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. Thank you all for stopping by to watch today. I apologize if I look a little disheveled. It is chicken butchering day here on the homestead, and we're hoping that I will get them all done today. I'm doing 25. My son is helping me, the younger son, but we do it all by hand, no plucking machine or anything like that. So it's always a well, no, it's not a fun job. It's one of the least favorite jobs on the homestead, but it is a necessary thing to put some meat in the freezer. If you're interested about the chickens that we're raising for that, I did make a video and I put it up over on my Patreon page that you can view that over there. But speaking of Patreon, I posted a video, another one, this morning, and it's a video answering some more questions about here in the Ozarks. A lot of people are always asking about the Ozarks, and this one is a little different. I addressed, based on my opinion, my history of living here, and some research, what I think, or how I think the Ozarks would fare in some big major natural disasters. New Madrid earthquake, Yellowstone exploding, different things like that. How I think the Ozarks would come through a situation like that. And that particular video on Patreon, I made it public so that you can watch it for free. You can log into Patreon and go to my page, and I'll leave a link to my Patreon page in the comments below, and you can watch that one for free, no membership whatsoever. Today, though, do you ever get this feeling that we're, I said the other day that it's a psyop that's going on, but that it's like some dystopian B movie that we're living in, that the things that we hear in the news, not just what goes on, but the things that are coming out of the media's mouth, politicians' mouth, and it doesn't matter what party they're with, just the things that's going on, that it's like, is anyone, do like the regular people, because I don't consider myself a regular person, do the regular people, are they buying this? Certainly that just regular, person on the street, if they hear this, that you can't tell me that they're buying this stuff, that they're not stopping and saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And at least in my lifetime, we've said it before many times, that the media's disinformation, that they're a propaganda piece, that politicians lie. I mean, I don't think that there's anyone that probably would deny those facts. But in the past, in my experiences, is that there's, been at least an attempt to do the things that they do and say the things they say, to make it an attempt to look like it's honest, or attempt to that it's legitimate. It's like now they're not even trying. They're saying such ridiculous things. There's so much ridiculousness going on that, I stop and wonder sometimes that, am I the only person in the world that's getting this, that's hearing this and thinking this is ridiculous? It's like some, a spoof comedy movie or something that you would have seen maybe back in the 80s. Anyway, so I wrote some stuff down, and on what I did, I went through Newspeak for the last couple of days. And this is not stuff that you and I might be kind of onto, more conspiracy stuff, more hidden stuff. This is stuff that's just right out in the news. And everyone sees this or can see it. And I'm sure most of you have, noticed the same thing. And you'll probably have other things that's not included in my list, and that's okay. For instance, did you know that a mask will stop a deadly virus that's very, very tiny, 0.1 microns or less in size, but it doesn't do any good for protecting you against smoke? That's correct. The wildfires in California and out west, they're telling people that not to wear the masks, that they're not protected at all against the smoke, that it doesn't do any good, even though smoke particles and ash particles in the air are much larger than a virus particle. Interesting. And this one, and I know I'm picking on a presidential candidate, but as all of you know, that I don't favor or think that one candidate is greatly better than the other. I think that in politics, there are two sides to the same coin. But have you guys seen the video of Joe Biden waving at nothing? He's waving at nothing. Of course, the left is saying, oh, he was waving at some firefighters or something. But you can kind of see in the video, it doesn't look that they're standing in the direction that he's waving. But it's not just that. He gives speeches to no one. He does these speeches and he's speaking to people, and like he has a crowd listening to him, and there may be 5 or 6 people at the most in these crowds, and they're sitting so far apart because, of course, we have to honor social distancing. He walks out on the stage wearing a mask, and there's no one around. And listening to him speak, I just forget about the politics, forget about, what he stands for versus what Trump stands for. Does anyone in their right mind actually think this guy has what it takes to be president? Not his politics, not his policies, but just him as a human being. Can you imagine listening to this guy for 4 years? And yet, according to the media, the country is just enamored by him, and they're on fire. Another thing that I saw that was online, of course, you all are familiar with the many different parades, boat parades, car parades, and stuff for President Trump. You've seen probably thousands of them. There was a parade for Biden the other day, and actually Biden was there at that parade, and there were 3 or 4 cars at that parade, and it was quite boring. They kind of just slowly drove by, and then that was it. Joe Biden's wife tweeted pictures of the 4 cars, talking about how it was so great to have this parade, and that's it. That's all that was there. The crowds that he's drawing are, non-existent. There are no crowds. And I'm not saying all this to be partisan in politics. I'm saying this, that according to the media, there's this, great excitement to have him as president. There's even been pictures that the media has posted with headlines about, Joe Biden's campaign or people at his rallies cheering him on, and the pictures were actually folks from a Trump campaign rally. And again, this isn't about partisan politics. This is about the ridiculousness that people actually believe, at least in the media. And I wonder, does the average person on the street actually believe that there's any kind of excitement for him? Anyways, moving on. Minneapolis. That's right. The big birthplace of the 2020 riots. Minneapolis disbanded and defunded their police 3 months ago. The city council voted. Many of you probably all know that. But now the city council and the people are upset because there's an increase in crime. They're very upset that the police are not doing anything about the increase in crime. And I'm thinking, has someone lost their mind? 3 months ago you voted to disband and defund them. They defunded them, cut their budget by 1/3, and voted to, gradually defund them or disband them and replace them with some type of feel-good community organization. And I'm thinking, you've cut their budget. They've, I'm sure many police officers have probably quit or retired, because who wants to work for a police department for a city that hates them? And then now you're complaining that there's an increase in crime. I thought your social feel-good, social workers that you sent out are supposed to take care of that. It just boggles my mind that they would be complaining about the police after defunding and disbanding them. Of course, here's one. Riots, violence, burning of buildings. That's all peaceful, right? But citizens that defend their home and their lives, they're arrested because they're criminals. You all know of the 2 folks up in St. Louis that defended their home with firearms, but there was another one just a few days ago. A group of rioters surrounded this person's home, shining lasers and lights into the home, screaming, yelling. And the homeowner from inside their home yelled at them to leave, and apparently was holding a shotgun. The police came and they arrested that man. So it's okay to burn buildings. It's okay to make threats. It's okay to attack police officers, attack citizens, destroy, all kinds of structures, just destroy anything. But if you actually defend yourself or your home, then you're a criminal. This was an interesting one, which I knew this was going to start happening. People, they have these pro-police rallies. You've probably seen a lot of them. These, backing the thin blue line type of rallies. Except now, the supporting, the people that they're supporting, the thin blue line, are arresting the people having the rallies supporting them because it's disorderly conduct. How long are people going to actually do this? And I'm not here to poo-poo on police officers. Some of them are some really good people. But here's the thing, for any of you police officers that might be watching, you got to make a decision, whose side are you on? And you cannot keep using this excuse, I've got a family to feed and I'm just following orders. Because at some point, you have a duty, an obligation and a duty to stand up for what's right, not for what you're told to do. And if you think that the people out here that are supporting you are going to continue to support you as they see you arresting people that are legally, defending themselves or are out there rallying for your support, and then you turn around and arrest them, you can't really expect to have people support you that much longer. And then, of course, there's all the ridiculous information that's been going on for months about a virus that we've been told that partners should wear masks when they're intimate to keep the spread down. Because if you and your wife are living together on a daily basis, you're not going to spread any kind of germs normally. But when you're intimate, you should wear a mask. We've been told that flatulence could possibly spread the virus. And then just this week, a study came out that the English language itself could spread the virus more than any other language because of somehow the way we speak and pronunciate certain words could cause us to actually spew the virus out more than any other language. So the English language is bad. I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, showing little children and sexual acts is not a crime or pedophilia, apparently. We found that out recently from Netflix. This is the kind of stuff that they're doing. They're It's 1984, folks. I've mentioned that book many times. If you've never read the book, you should read it. And in the book, it's called Newspeak, where, light is dark, good is evil, war is peace, on and on and on. And this is part of their psyop. This is part of this disinformation campaign. It's to confuse people. It's to literally brainwash people. It's very, I almost liken it to a very much of an MK Ultra type of manipulation and brainwashing. That if they say this stuff enough over and over and over again, these ridiculous things, that a rational, reasonable thinking person would say, that makes no sense. Okay? It makes no sense. But they know that if they repeat that enough, over and over again, that there's going to be enough sheep out there that buy it. And they know that they'll buy it because they know that they've been indoctrinated for the last at least 50 or 60 years in the public education system. They've been dumbed down because of chemicals put into their body, whether in the water system or in the air injected in them. They know that they've been dumbed down because of the poor quality of foods that they've been eating. They know that they've been dumbed down because of the garbage that they put in their mind through the TV and the movies and the music. I mean, this is really part of their plan. And it's working. It's working brilliantly. And it really amazes me that so many people still buy it. There's still a lot of people that believe that there's enough Americans that are going to stand up for this. And I hope that there are. I hope that there's enough. but I'm afraid that too many have been bought by one side or the other. They believe that their side on the left is the righteous side, and it's for equality and tolerance and no systemic racism and no poor people and, the equal workers and all this kind of stuff. And then you have the right that is basically bought whatever Fox News and the president's administration says, regardless of how it is. And to the point that we live in a world where Republicans are now pro-vaccine and pro-public education, forced public education, where I remember a day when one of the big things with the Republican platform was to abolish the federal Department of Education, and most conservatives have been against forced vaccines, have been against the push for untested vaccines, and yet now they're the party that's pushing that. It's kind of crazy, folks, but the thing is that there's a reason for that. There's a reason to cause so much confusion because it distracts you. And that's, in the end, I think that's what's going on. Everything that's happening, at least in the front lines, everything on the news, everything on in the media that the average person could possibly see, it's all a distraction. If you want to find out what's really going on, you have to do a lot of digging. You have to go places and search for things to find out what's really going on. You really have to open your mind, because all this stuff that we're seeing, and it's bad, and it has certainly consequences to the things that they're doing. But in the end, these things that are happening are distractions for us. And we have to keep that in mind. Not to get so caught up into what is going on, whether it's a virus or a presidential campaign or riots or wildfires, on and on. All this stuff, it's distraction. And I believe it's distraction because this great reset, this New World Order, this Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050, it is at that time, where we are at that time, that it's all starting to take place. It's all being implemented. I believe that they've gotten the technology to the level that it's capable of doing the things that they want to do. And they need a really big distraction. They need a distraction all over the planet because this is going to be bigger than just the U.S. And so that's why there's so much turmoil. There's peace, there's violence, there's confusion, there's fear, there's sickness, there's death, there's destruction. All of this is happening all at the same time. And I cannot think of any other time in history when there's been so many drastic things happening all over the world at the same time. And it's got to all be for a reason. And I believe that it is a distraction, because if you start to dig and you start to see the things that are being implemented behind closed doors, in secret, technologies that are being unveiled and that are being developed and that are being pushed and talked about, this, I believe, is the true agenda. And I believe it's because we live in the end times. And this is the kind of stuff that we do need to be prepared for. I don't want to be a sky is falling kind of guy, and I don't want to instill fear, because that's not what we need to do. What we need to do is be aware of what's going on and make connections and start the plan for that. Because a lot of the prepping plans that a lot of people have done over the last few decades have been, how to get past an earthquake, or how to deal with some natural disaster, or even an economic collapse. Well, this is different. This is a global thing, and it could be extremely long-term thing, because it could be something that drastically changes our society forever, which is what they're wanting to do. And so the prepping plan has to be different. So you need to make sure you're adjusting for that. If your plan is to hunker down for 6 months and then it's all going to be good, that may not work. Your plan might have worked where you're at, even though you knew in the back of your mind being in a different place, living somewhere else, would probably be better. You'd make it work where you live. I spoke to someone just last night on the phone, and he was talking about how his plan has always been to bug out to Washington State. He said that's what he's worked for, it's what he's saved for and everything. He says, but it's obvious now that that is not the place to bug out to. Between the wildfires and especially the political climate there, he says, I don't want to be anywhere near Washington State. And both he and I understand that not the whole state's on fire, not the whole state is rioting. But I just feel that it's probably best to stay away from it. And he agrees. So because of what's going on, and there seems to be a little lull, we've talked to that before, take the time that you need to get yourselves ready for quite possibly something much bigger than just a single event SHTF. This is certainly not that. And by all means, don't buy their disinformation and their propaganda to divert your attention away from what you really should be focusing on. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.